You're listening to the Drummer Daily Podcast, the only daily podcast dedicated just to drummers. Go to my website at danielhadaway.com. All right, it's that time again. I intentionally tried to not say what I realized that I say pretty much the same thing at the beginning of every episode. And I realized that if you're listening to a bunch of these in a row, that every 5 minutes or so, you're going to hear me say, "Hey there, how's it going?" So try to change it up for you today. Cause I noticed it cause confession, I actually subscribe to my own podcast. But I like to see how it kind of comes through, you know? And so, if you're listening to podcasts, like for me on the iPhone is where I see it. If you listen to podcasts on the iPhone, it starts, I think mine is set where it automatically plays the next podcast after you listen to one. And so for me, it's like I just automatically hear myself. And also if I listen to a different podcast, it starts, and then mine is the next one in line. It just starts, anyway, it starts playing me. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. All that to say, I'm trying not to drive you crazy, and I hope you appreciate it. Because it's hard. It's hard not to do the same thing day after day. So today, I'm going to talk about something that I don't think it's going to offend anyone, but it might get some people angry or fired up, or you might disagree with me, which is cool. But I thought I'd kind of, instead of just kind of providing some touchy-feely, nice tricks and tips, not ticks and trips. I don't provide those, but I do provide tips and tricks. I thought I would share something a little more like an opinion kind of thing, but also I think it's something that whether you agree with me or you disagree with me, I think that, the cool thing, I love to actually listen to people that I disagree with, because it makes me kind of, bounce off of what they're saying and kind of think about, what I think about in my own, my own opinion. So anyway, I'm going to say some things that you may not agree with, and that's totally cool with me. But let me know. Send me an email. Daniel@danielhadaway.com. So today I was just thinking, I posted this to Instagram earlier, a little kind of quote from myself. I quoted myself on Instagram. So check me out if you don't know already, Instagram.com/DanielHadaway. But anyway, I when I was in high school, and this wasn't just me, but tons of people, when I was in high school and younger age drummer, I went to like the local music store, one of the big chain music stores. They had randomly throughout the year, they'd have drum clinics. These really famous drummers would come in and do drum clinics. And I'd go to those, and man, I loved going to them. I loved seeing really great drummers play live. It was exciting and fun. And some of the videos, I bought some drum videos, like the DVDs, like the drum clinic or the instructional type, drum videos from some of the famous drummers as well, and watched them. What I realized I'll get to my realization, I guess, in a second. The first thing I want to say is this. I always went to these events with the idea that I was going there to learn something. I mean, that's what drum clinics are. I'm going to show you how to do something. And I'll tell you, there's one exception to this, but every single drum clinic I went to was just a extended 2-hour drum solo. Dudes just going off, just shredding on the drums, just ripping off everything they ever could think of as fast as they could, just going nuts. It was a performance. It was there to impress us all. And even if they tried to teach you something, that was new and that you could throw into your drumming, what I realized is that like 90% of the people in the room, maybe even more than that, we were all pretty crappy drummers to begin with. Like we weren't, like, who cares if we could throw in a, triple Radamacue where we double an extra hit or something on the right hand. I don't even know if that's even a thing, but who cares if we could do that? Because when we sat down to play the drums and tried to just play, with a band or at church or whatever, it sounded like complete crap to begin with. So like, what is it like, sure, we could go do that and maybe, try to impress a drum buddy or something, you know, with something, but like it was like the rest of the drumming around it didn't sound very good. And if we didn't have the awareness to know that our basic drumming wasn't very good, we certainly didn't have the awareness to know that this really complex thing we were doing wasn't very good either, even if it was correct, you know, by the book or whatever someone told you. So anyway, and most of these drum videos were the same thing. They were just a bunch of guys showing off. And then here's the thing about drum clinics and drum videos, especially by like famous drummers who, like, you know, somebody got famous for playing for artist X and then they did a drum video because they're a really impressive drummer. The thing is, they're not a teacher. They are gifted by the Lord above to play drums really well, but they may not have been gifted by the Lord above to teach everyone else how to play the drums really well. But that didn't stop them from making a DVD with the premise that they were going to teach us how to play drums. So I try to watch some of these things. I still have some, and it's just painful. Like, I can't get anything out of it. And even like, you know, some of these guys, they'd play like, you know, a certain drum lick, and they'd play it again and it would be different the next time they play it. They thought they were playing the same thing, but they weren't even aware they were playing something different. Or they do some of these patterns where let me break it down for you and play it for you slow, and then let me speed it up. And when they sped it up, eventually they got to a point where they weren't playing that rhythm anymore. So anyway, it was just like, it was impossible to learn stuff from this. The one exception to that was a guy named J.D. Blair. He played for Shania Twain. He played for Victor Wooten, and I'll never forget. Like, I feel like the moment I went to his drum clinic, this like is like my life changed. Like, it was like I was going down a path, and I took a right turn when I saw his drum clinic and got into what he did, and that was because he played this. He did this kind of performance, but then he also had people other drummers come up in the middle of his clinic and play. But he would do this. He would play the most basic, like kick on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, eighth notes on the hi-hat. And his rule was, I'm going to play for 5 minutes, and I'm going to play this same pattern. You can't hit any cymbals other than the hi-hat. You can't play any drum fills. The only thing you can do is, the most notes you can play are that pattern. Now, you can take notes away, so you could drop a kick hit, you could drop a snare hit or hi-hat hits, but you couldn't add anything more. The most you could play was that basic pattern. And what you do after that amount of time is you start noticing the feel you can put into something so basic. And you start noticing the nuance of where exactly you're landing. And you start thinking about, all right, what's going to give each hit the most impact? Or when I get to the end of a 4-bar phrase, I can't do a drum fill. But when I start back on the next 4-bar phrase, I need to have some impact. So what do? Maybe I should drop something out before I get there. It was so interesting to me, that aspect of it. And so that was the one drum clinic that actually, like, it really inspired me. It took my playing in a completely different direction for the rest of my life. And even today, that's kind of my thing. Also, it probably doesn't hurt that I'm actually not that technical of a drummer. I can't really do the technical, crazy stuff. Maybe I don't have the discipline to practice it or whatever, but maybe that's just my excuse, is that I'm like, oh, I'm all about feel, man. And really, the real reason is because I can't play the complex stuff. Anyway, I just want you to kind of think about the fact that it's cool to go to these drum clinics, and it's cool to get these drum videos, but let's just call it what it is. That's entertainment. It's the same thing as buying like a live performance, Justin Timberlake DVD, or going to a concert. You're going to see a performance. Don't tell yourself, at least for me, it was more frustrating. These things were more frustrating. I could have enjoyed them more if I just said, I'm going to go and be entertained and have fun. But if I told myself I'm going to try to get something out of this for my own playing, it was just infuriating. And it was more, maybe because I couldn't find something that I could try, but also even when I tried it, I couldn't do it like the guy that I was listening to was telling me to do it. And so anyway, I just want to encourage you to maybe take a different approach to where you get your inspiration for playing from, and how you go about learning new things on the drums. Because the big dirty secret of most of these guys you see going crazy online, like on YouTube now, going nuts playing drums, and most of these guys who are doing these, who are like pro clinicians, in the drums now, the big dirty secret about all these guys is they actually can't get a gig. They can't get hired into a band, either because they're jerks or because they don't know how to, they can't play. They don't know how to play musically with other people. They know how to do drum solos for forever. And even like when you see them, like, you know, they show up at NAMM and do a drum clinic, they've got a band with them, but those band guys just play the same thing over and over again, let the guy solo on top of them. Anyway, I'm all fired up about this because I don't want you to waste your time. I want you to learn stuff that if you want to be a professional drummer, or you want to be like the best like worship drummer you can be at church and not be distracting to the people there, you need to learn things that are actually useful. They always make the joke here in Nashville about, like, you know, the backbeat is what pays the bills. Like, all other stuff's impressive, but you know, there's about one pattern out there that really pays the bills, and that's the simple pattern I described in this. So anyway, hope that helps you out today. This is a little longer podcast, but hey, there's no rules. It's my podcast. It's got my face on the picture. I can do what I want. All right. Talk to you again tomorrow.